I want to start out by saying I am so thankful to be alive at this point in history when the thing that I love most is at the very early stages of development, and that is VR and the VR industry as a whole. And I'm so excited I get to do this every single day. And today we're going to talk about how I got into VR and how I became a professional VR developer. So a little disclaimer here, my path is not the path that you're probably going to be able to take to get into professional VR development. At this stage right now, it's very early days and there's not really an established way to get into VR development. And we'll probably talk about some ways you could go about it towards the end of this video, but let's talk about how I did it. So originally, I grew up wanting to be a robotics engineer. So I was into, robots and, maybe even self-driving cars and that kind of stuff. And so the mix between mechanical and electrical and software, and was going through college and trying to do a mechatronic engineering degree. And I failed physics. So, after trying physics twice, I think I ended up passing it the second time, but then you have to take more advanced physics after that. I was like, well, maybe I'll just go pure software. And so ended up getting a software engineering degree and a minor in computer science. Using that degree, I was able to get a little internship at like a software consulting company. Honestly, still work at that company right now, for the moment. More on that later. But, just being able to jump into a company, getting the degree, honestly, the college education was not worth it. If you were to ask me right now, if I were to do it again, I would probably just try to skip college, learn VR development on my own, because honestly, that's what I did anyway. All of the classes were super outdated. They didn't really teach me the software very well, so I ended up learning all of it myself. But the one thing I will say that was beneficial about the college degree was that it did get me my first job. And that is something to be said. You either have to know someone or have a degree and the right, enough credibility to get that job, get your foot in the door. So that's the one pro I would say about a college degree. The other way you could do that would be to have a really good portfolio or resume. So the college degree got me a software engineering job. And I've worked at that for the last 4, maybe 5 years now. But I'm always the kind of person who needed a side project. And originally, it was just YouTube in general. So I didn't really have a theme, didn't really know what I was going to do on YouTube, but I knew YouTube was going to become a big thing and having your own personal brand was going to be a big thing. And so I kind of started posting YouTube videos about just random stuff. So I had a completely separate channel where I just posted vlogs for a while. And then after I got into software and doing that a lot more, I started posting videos about how to make, website stuff, like how to add a footer to your website and, how to design it, like tutorial stuff, kind of like the VR is now, but it was on purely websites. But then I got my first VR headset. And I know you remember your first VR experience. And I remember mine. So mine was a very crappy plastic, like $5 headset that you like slide your phone into and you can watch like 360 YouTube videos on. So I wouldn't even call that, like, I guess it's technically VR, but like no input from me. It was just purely visual. You watch it, it happens. And I watched a 360 YouTube video about cheetahs on the savannah. And so someone had just put a 360 camera in the middle of the savannah and cheetahs were walking up to it and like looking at it and stuff. And it was a video. And so you're watching it and you're able to look around, and completely blew my mind. My first experience in VR, and I was like, this is the future. This is absolutely, like, I knew no question about it. This is going to be the future. This is where everybody's headed. And this was like 2018, 2019 maybe. And me being a software engineer, my first thought is, okay, well, how do I make my own experiences? How do I do it myself? And so I started down that rabbit hole and trying to figure out, okay, well, how do you use Unity? How do I, code Unity to do things that I want? And then how do I make Unity do VR? And The issue was there was nothing online that was up to date that allowed you to easily just kind of jump in and start making VR games. And so as I was learning, like, from the outdated tutorials and then piecing the rest together with like forums and stuff, I started just posting videos about how to make VR games. And it turned out y'all really liked those kinds of videos. And I started to develop a little bit of a following. And so, I'm still working my 9-to-5 day job. And then, in the evenings, I would, just work on VR projects and play around with it. And it was never really like working on a project that I was planning on publishing. It was just kind of like, I'm interested in the tech. And so I'm going to keep building cool, fun tech projects. And my YouTube channel kind of became my second resume. And so after posting for 2 years on YouTube and, playing around with VR and getting to be really proficient at it, I started to get a bunch of requests back. I started to get some freelance gigs that I was able to work on, and that was super fun. And then I had also been participating in a VR developer meetup called Spatial Ape, and it was hosted on its own like app, its own private app, and it was a bunch of like VR developers. It was really hard to actually download the app. You had to like sideload it onto you download it from the website, sideload it onto your headset every single week because there's a new update. But all the people who did that, it was a really nice core tight-knit community. But the guy who made it was too busy to kind of keep updating it. And so someone else I had met at the meetup, his name is Daniel, reached out to me one day and asked, hey, would you like to take over Spatial Ape, have the software, and then kind of just make a full-on VR company out of this, little meetup software? And so I, was like, yeah, I am down. I want to start a VR company. I've been getting all these requests to do, just VR consulting gigs. And at that point, it was just too many. And so we ended up creating this little VR software consulting company called CyberHub Syndicate. And then I would, kind of pass all of the requests that I would get over to this new company. And then we started to get some clients and some like, Fortune 50 clients. And it, started to take off. And now that's kind of where I'm at currently. So I remember I told you this was not like a traditional way to go about getting into, VR development professionally. So I, am the CTO of this company, CyberHub Syndicate. And so that's, where I am professionally right now. And I haven't released a game publicly. I haven't, done any of the traditional, like when people ask like, what's your portfolio or whatever, it's like I have a few itch games that I've posted on itch.io from just having a, participating in VR game jams and stuff. But it's really the enterprise, side of things that I've been able to kind of develop my portfolio out of. And I also have like taught at a VR boot camp for a little while. So the side project has kind of become the main project, and now here I am, the CTO of a VR software company, and of course the YouTube channel. If you have questions about me and my path to VR development, or if you want to know what the best path for you to get into VR development would be, add a comment down below, and I'll probably do a specific video about some actual paths that I would recommend taking to become a VR developer. And if you're interested in working for me and Daniel's VR consulting company, shoot me an email. And we're always looking for good developers. Whoa, wait a minute. Do you even know if you're ready to become a VR developer? There's a quiz down in the description. If you take it, it'll let you know where you're at skill-wise and if you're ready to jump in.